What is going on, everybody? Welcome. It is lunchtime. Time to get that break from the workday, hang out with friends, talk about all things in sports entertainment, specifically CrossFit. We are here. We're going to throw a dart. Oh, shit. Not good. Missed the dartboard altogether today. That's kind of how my Monday has gone. So, there we go. Jake, new member. Base show. Jake, what's going on, man? Lots of people in the chat. You guys are here early today. Corey, Amanda, Jan, Trent Olive, Vicky, Jay Birch, John, Jose, Jody, Jeff, Craig, what's going on, everybody? John George, when are the ladies coming on for recap debrief? I think like Carolyn flew back last night and started the school year today. Like she gave herself no break time. Like took the silver medal yesterday, hopped on a plane, landed in Toronto last night, and then started teaching this morning for the beginning of the school year. That is crazy. Jamie's son started college today, so she drove back to Michigan. He was there at the competition with her. They get him back, get him settled, and off he goes to college today. So both of them, that's what Masters life is, man. You compete and then bam, you're right back at life. Life just smacks you in the face. There it is, and away you go. So, yeah, that is rough. How am I feeling? Well, I didn't do the 8 workouts, so I feel okay. But I will, like, it's a lot of stimulus, right? Like, there's a lot of stimulation and a lot of people to talk to and a lot of people and a lot of things going on, and a lot of just people. And I'm generally an extrovert and I get my energy from that. But, man, after a weekend like that, I am pretty well like whooped. So did the show last night. Didn't think I had the energy to do more than 30 minutes. Ended up doing 90. That's just the way you guys get me fired up. And yeah, crazy. And went back to work this morning. And I had to get a couple trainings done like by the end of this week. One was aggressive, what they call that, aggressive threat training. That one went pretty quick. It was just a quick 20 minutes. Same video I've seen the last 7 years. Just had to get through it as a check the box. And then they just brought out this business etiquette training. Oh my gosh. Like it is, I'm only like a third of the way through. It is so damn remedial. I can't believe we actually have to train people how to not be a dick. That is exactly what this training is. It is taking the phrase, don't be a dick, and turning it into a big, long training. And it is rough. I'm having a hard time getting through it, but I just need to get through it today. Imagine being Rich Froning. I cannot imagine being Rich Froning at a CrossFit event and being just mobbed the entire time I'm there. It's crazy. That would be just insane. I mean, I would be talking to Boz and he would get selfie requests nonstop while we were talking. I'd be talking to Carolyn. She'd get selfie requests. It's just crazy. And Rich Froning, that's like 10 multiplier, right? But I do have to say, like, my girls that I hang out with every Sunday night at the Masters games, they are rock stars. The cheers for Jamie every time she took the floor felt like half the crowd, which was so cool to see. She deserves that so much. And then Carolyn Prevost, this athlete that's 4 times individual competitor, makes it to her first Masters CrossFit Games. Like, she was the hit of the media. She was the hit of all the fans. Like, everybody wanted selfies with her. Other competitors were telling me that she's their hero. It just was like this really cool thing that they don't get normally. When Carolyn's mixed in with the other big elite athletes, she's kind of like one of the forgotten ones, and she'll even admit that to you. And the fact that you come here and she's just a star, it so cool. So cool. I was so pumped for them. It's awesome. I texted Jamie this morning and tried to tell her how much of a badass she is. And I'm sure she took that very well, Corey, because I know how she takes those from me. Dave showed up at the BCS Classic on Friday morning. We were all surprised. Yeah, he was here for on Saturday, I think, and he came up and spoke to me. I don't know why. I don't know. I guess I'm hard to forget. I'm not like your typical size, shape, whatever in this space, but he always comes up and says hi whenever he sees me. And I talked to him on Saturday. That was super cool. But man, that guy gets mobbed too. That's got to be right at that Rich Froning level at some kind of thing. Yeah, Jose, he was doing the same here. Shaking everybody's hand. Did I do better than my Tyson video? Dave doesn't do that to me, man. Like, it's weird. Like, in the CrossFit space, I look at everybody as just like my friends that because I've been in this space. Like, I started CrossFit in 2011 and I started volunteering in 2013. So I've been around the athletes and I've been around Dave like several times now. So that stuff doesn't get me like my NFL fandom does. Like, when I talk about my Chicago Bears, like that is a deep-seated love since I was a young lad in Western Pennsylvania. And those guys get me more giddy than like anybody in the CrossFit space. The CrossFit space, I can sit down with anybody and have a chat, and it's really good. But man, put me in like the other thing, I'm a wreck. We started the same year. Nice. Didn't know that. Yeah. Started 2011, 530-ish pounds. Yep. There are no clubs in CrossFit sport, so there won't ever be that same connection. I don't disagree with you, Jake. I think at this point, like in CrossFit, even if it does explode at some point, like I'm embedded in it enough that I'm just a part of this culture. And maybe that's the difference too. Like CrossFit, you feel like you're a part of it because you do some form of it 5 days a week, right? So I just think that, like, because you feel a part of it, it's not like them at this level and you, even though it still is that. I don't know. It's just weird. Weird for me. But I get what you're saying, especially like, the football clubs in Europe, like it's an insane connection. It's like that way in the NFL here. College football, same thing. Howie, watching this weekend is very inspiring. Those people have careers, kids, and real life issues and still are insanely fit. They make a lot of sacrifice too. And I captured a lot of that in the interviews I did. And I just talked to Caitlin right before I went on the air. I think we're going to try to get the first episode out by next Tuesday. So I was going to do Monday, but that's a holiday here in the States. So we'll do next Tuesday, and I'll release the first episode from this weekend then. It was cool just to sit and chat with Boz, no pretense. Yeah, he's so approachable. He actually agreed to come on. I think I'm going to have him on with the Sunday night show with us, so Carolyn and Jamie can ask him questions. And look for that in the next week or two. But when I approached him, I had an agenda. I wanted to know, did he really approve all these workouts that got put out this weekend? Because the story is that Legends made them, they gave them to HQ, Boz reviewed them, and then he gave feedback, and then they went out. And I did ask him that straight up. And he said, yeah, they did. But there were some things that Legends were adamant about, and they did not take the feedback from HQ. But they did have discussions about all of it. So, Saxon agreed to come on. I just have to get it scheduled now that the games are over, both versions. Train Olive on the Corey track, trying to make masters when I turn 50. I watched Bob have the audacity to say he thought the workouts were balanced on the WOD Prep podcast. I said to Boz straight up, there were no gymnastics. He said there's 2 gymnastics workouts. And I said one of them is after the cut. And and so you're not even there. Half the field doesn't even get to do it. And then he looked at me like, yeah, you're right. But I think he also he had to toe the company line a little bit. As much as he wanted to say more, he was not going to say more. So maybe we get him on the show. Maybe we get a little more. Maybe we don't. But hey, we're going to try. And then, yeah. I'm going to try to incorporate some more interviews into these lunch shows. And if they can't do them at lunch, I'll do them at other times during the day. But with the way my work is, I can't do them during the workday. So I'm going to have to figure out evenings or something like that. So there we go. The big topic I wanted to talk about today, it's kind of a continuation. Well, first, I wanted to say that, so Corey, okay. Man, you keep changing the subject on me. Sled push on turf that looked suspiciously like carpet. So apparently, this was made by Surface Co. as a more consistent type surface to push sleds on. And it actually worked out great. For the first time ever in like a sled push race, we did not hear any complaints about one lane was better than the other. So I gave them shit because when I looked at it, it looked like a carpet instead of turf, but it ended up actually working very, very well. John George, no way. As a community, we need to flood Dave's weekly review on the importance of HQ taking back the programming or farm it out to someone like JR who knows what they are doing. Train Olive, I did not see when they had to retape it. Um, but I did not see any complaints, and I didn't see it not work right. So yeah, they may have had to reinforce it a little bit, but it never seemed to affect the race. So I know Taylor was on uh Savon last night giving his impressions as a coach, and he talked about them not being allowed in with the athletes to warm up their athletes. And that was the same last year. It was like that in Birmingham. The coaches had to stay on the fence line outside the barrier, whatever the hell it is. And only the athletes were allowed in the area. Now, this year, they were supposed to get more warm. Each floor had its own separate warm up area. Now, what I didn't know until Taylor said it was a lot of the equipment never even got unboxed. And so they had to like get their own equipment out of boxes. And that's crazy. But I know a lot of it had to do with there being teens involved this year. And with teenagers in the warm up areas, they didn't want just any willy nilly person back in those areas. And I get that. I totally get that. The teens should be protected at all costs. But if so, I just don't know. I don't know how you fix that, but I get what Taylor's saying from a coaching perspective. You want to warm up your athlete. You want to make the warm up area available to your athletes. But then you have these 14, 15, 16-year-olds in there, and they should be protected. So it's, I get it. I get both sides of this coin. Aaron Fraser says protected from the coaches. Have you not seen all the documentaries on Netflix with the gymnastics coaches, with the wrestling coaches, with the doctors of the coaches? Like, as much as I want to say these coaches are trustworthy, you can't afford one of them to not be. Then give the teens their own warm-up area. You could do that. There was a lot of space. They had a lot of extra space in the back to do that. They could have done that very easily and given the teens their very own warm-up area. Do I know if they have DB's checks in the USA? I don't know what that means, Jake. I'm sorry. Okay. Yep. They do have background checks, if that's what you're saying. In most now bigger sporting stuff, but I don't think they have it for CrossFit. So, yeah. So they have something like it, but I think it's more for organized sports. And I don't think CrossFit has hit that level where there's overall background checks on coaches. I think there is potential for it, but you'd have to have like an organization that required, if you were to be a coach of an athlete, like CrossFit would have to say, if you're coming to the teen games or you're going to coach a teen athlete, you have to have this background check. CrossFit would have to implement that as an organization. That's the only way I could see that ever happening. And maybe it should. Maybe that is something that should happen and be implemented. Like, I like that idea. Yeah, Chris, you're right. They should do that immediately. If you're going to be a coach of a teen athlete, you need to have a background check. There were no teens last year, same policy. Agreed. There was the same policy last year, but the warm up area was much smaller last year. And they did not, the first day was everybody could go in there, and they had to limit it to just athletes because there wasn't enough equipment and not enough space for everybody. No, photographers were not allowed in. They I think even when the teams were there, they didn't allow phones in there. But it was an open area. I mean, you could take photos from the other side of the barrier. Like, I don't- makes doesn't make a lot of sense there though. But my from what I'm hearing is they're looking at coming back to the same venue next year, building a relationship with the city, building up more promotion from the city. And if you have all that extra space, then you could have separate areas for the team games, all of that kind of stuff. Uh so yeah, like all of this I think could be done. It just I think everybody that runs these organizations are good people, but I think like at the level that we're at now, they're not prepared to think about everything in place. And I don't think the forethought was there to say, let's have a separate teen warm up area from everybody else. Um, Jake, when I qualify next year, I want my coach to be able to be there with me. There you go. You need someone to hold that hand, man. All right. So, um, the other things that Taylor talked about were that the community, the athletes, the spectators were like super awesome. And I could not agree more. It was a really cool area to be. You wanted to be there. Everybody was so cool to each other. Everybody was just having cool conversations. Everybody was polite. Um, it really was a cool community atmosphere there. And I echo everything he said. The other thing he said, the Airbnb that him and Bryson got, he felt unsafe when he came outside. I know exactly where they got their Airbnb. They there if you go just east of where the venue is here in Columbus, just east is like the old rich Jewish neighborhood from like the early days of CrossFit, or not CrossFit, Columbus. But if you go just a tick too far, you go right into the hood. And they had to have gotten their Airbnb just there. Um, and it is a rough area of town for sure. But if you're down by the venue, it's gorgeous. Like there's 500 restaurants outside the door. There are tons of high-end hotels, and it is no, Trish, not the old Jewish hood. There's the old Jewish section, and then right after that is the hood. Um, so yeah, but everything downtown was really, really nice. Yeah, Chris, they were definitely in the hood. So there. The other thing I want to talk about is This whole thing, gosh, Trish was mugged by a rabbi. Yeah, that's it. Crystal Hummer, good event, good venue, great city, but like last year, need to work on improving the logistics. I don't disagree on that. So last night we talked about how everything was expensive. The tickets to get in were expensive. There were great crowds, but what I find, I was laying in bed last night thinking about this, and CrossFit is this thing where you get to dangle a dream, right? You, as an everyday CrossFitter, can go to the CrossFit Games in all of these age groups. If you're good enough, if you put in the work, if you make the sacrifice, you can get this dream of going to the CrossFit Games. And so many people like Corey, like Jake, like whoever else said they wanted to go to the CrossFit Games. And then you get sucked in, right? But then they make you pay for it over and over and over again. You want to go to the CrossFit Games? It's only $20. Sign up for the Open. Wait, you made qualified for semifinals? Here's another charge for that. Oh, you made it to the games? Well, hey, we need $400 and you can come to the games. Oh, then when you get here, by the way, if your family wants to see you, they have to pay $280 to watch you this weekend. Oh, you have like 10 family members. Well, that's like $2,800 just to come watch you. So they dangle a dream and they say, but you got to pay for that dream. Because we can't be creative enough to come up with alternative funding sources. That there are revenue streams out there that are more creative than charging the people with the dream. And it's so shitty that we sit there and go, I want this dream. We're going to give you this dream. And the price for that is so immense. Oh, but then the prize money, sorry, we only have X number of dollars to give to you. It is, all of these athletes sacrifice so much and they end up way in the negative. Even if they win the damn thing, they've lost so much money to go after this dream. And yes, there are tons that are willing to pay for it because it's the dream. You've given them the dream. So they're willing to pay for it. But then you charge them on top of that. The ticket prices are insane. Jake talked earlier in the show about these clubs, right? What do you see at all the soccer matches? You see people wearing the jerseys. NFL games, you see people wearing the jerseys. College football, people wearing the jerseys. We can't get an apparel company to make a jersey for an athlete to save our life. And when we did at the games, people were shoving each other to try to get them off the shelves. That's a revenue stream that we are letting die. I talked to Becca Voigt as she was checking in, and she said she was going to the game. This is her 18th appearance at the games, and she has so much stuff from the games that she has to give some of it away. But she never gives away her jerseys because she said nobody wants to wear a shirt with my name on it. I said, Becca, you are so wrong. So many people would wear a shirt with your name on it. Look at every NFL game. Look at every NBA game. The stands are full of people wearing shirts with other people's names on them. That's a revenue stream. And you just make a small percentage of that go back to the athlete. but find someone who's able to do that. And then we talked last night, get people in the door. Don't charge $280, charge $20. Get more people through the door, and then your vendor village becomes more active. More active, that means the vendors get happier. And then when the vendors are happier, then they will pay more to be there. And then it just becomes this nice circle of revenue where you're not charging the dreamer, you're charging the people coming to make money while they're going for their dream. Jake's wearing David Beckham's underpants. There you go. That stuff is real. That stuff is real. Sabir and Kelly wearing a CEO shirt. Yes, we support the people we like. We wear shirts that show that support. I think the problem right now is we can't keep a steady sponsor. We can't establish a relationship. It's 1 year and done. 1 year and done. We need to get, but yet CrossFit has their own apparel. And instead of focusing solely on, now listen, I love that Pukey is back. I love that Forging Elite Fitness is back. I love that repetition is the enemy. A routine is the enemy. All that stuff back. Super, super pumped, right? But they could make jerseys too. They could make jerseys. It's easy. So easy. But really, we need to get more vendors into the place. There was so much room to have a massive vendor village. And not only have we screwed the pooch and have smaller and smaller vendor villages, we are going less and less outside of the scope of CrossFit with those vendors. Do you remember when like KT tape was a thing and like rock tape was at every event? That wasn't a CrossFit thing. That was a sport thing. Why can't we get Icy Hot? You guys were joking last night that Icy Hot and Advil should be sponsors of the Masters CrossFit Games. Well, why not? Why not? They're putting out products all the time. They could have a booth in there, or anybody reaching out outside of the scope of grips and booty shorts and shoes to get anybody into the venue. I don't know, Jake, but I can tell you I got real tired of seeing ads for Boulder Athlete all weekend. You put up the money, that's what you're going to see. And they had a really cool booth at the venue with cold tubs that they made available for every athlete, whether they were Boulder or not. I've got an idea. The CrossFit affiliate where the athlete comes from, the open registrations go towards paying their registration fee for the games. There you go. I like Voltaren personally, really drives the boys away. There we go. Voltaren. That's a great one. Awesome. That is insane. A 10 by 30 vendor space is listed at $35,500. For which event, Crystal? Think how everyone thinks seeing U.S. Army and U.S. Border Patrol sponsors, and Jake is in the Isle of Man. Like he could give two shits about that. 10 by 10 space, $9,000. We just need to bag Apple as a main sponsor. Yeah, probably not getting that either. This weekend, they were charging $35,500. Now, the crowds were way up from Birmingham, way up. And probably the crowds were better than ever at a combined games for the Masters athlete portion. But we're nowhere near where you can justify 35.5. No way. No way. U.S. Army and Border Patrol don't have ties with guys running the age group games. Wouldn't it be excellent if the KGB sponsored the games? Wow. Nationwide is on your side. We were in the land of Nationwide Insurance. They have 3 towers downtown that are their headquarters. Why didn't someone reach out and say, hey, you want to support this event we have going on? Tristan Patrick, we were onto something with Monster, but everyone got upset about that. I know. I am not. It was water, people. It was water in a can. Corey, you say the I lost you. There we go. The Allstate Insurance CrossFit Games Nationwide Insurance headquarters was literally across the street from where we were. Across the street. RFK would love the Masters games. We should do everything we can to get him there. There you go. That's thinking outside the box. That's thinking outside the box, right? It's not just taking the dreamers and charging them to death. It's finding other ways to attract people there. Dude, if it meant the athletes got paid, I would take my ass happily to the McDonald's 2026 CrossFit Games. All right. Might be going over the edge a little bit. So I heard Bob say ticket sales were up 4% over last year, but that's garbage numbers because last year it was just masters, not teens. So the numbers should be high double digits. I will tell you, I was not at the teen game, so I don't know what their draw was, but it was like every heat, you had to struggle your way to get to see. Either get a seat high enough over top of the crowd of fence sitters, or you had to burrow your way into the fence. It was, every event was that way. Every heat on every floor. The sled push workout, I was so far off to the one side because I could not get in close enough to even get good pictures of Carolyn and Jamie. That's a great point, Aaron, because I thought about that. RFK could teach seminar on push-ups and pull-ups. Not RFK, but like, why not bring in like the power monkeys and do seminars? If you would have seen and I know like Chris was there. I know some other people were there. If you were inside that venue, there was so much open space that wasn't being used. You could have run like little mini camps off to the side and done partnerships with like Power Monkey, or have WOD Prep do some demos, or maybe they did and I didn't see them, but there was so much space. They could have held little instructional camps all over the place, and you could have partnered with people to do that. That's the outside the box thinking you have to get to. You have to make it more than just the events to bring people into the building. And the last thing I'm going to say is the biggest vendor village every single year is Wadapalooza. And Wadapalooza on Thursdays every single year that I was there had a free day for the public. Thursdays were admission free. Anybody could walk in the doors, and they had the biggest vendor village of anybody I've ever seen. Why is that? Because you could just walk in and the place was crowded. What are the complaints about Wadapalooza? Not enough seating. Couldn't get in to see the big event. So many people. Well, when you have that problem, you have a lot of vendors. So at least there's something you can go do when you can't get into the venue. Or in this case, nobody wants to watch the same event all day long through all the different age groups. Let the people who want to see that do that, and have a robust vendor village with plenty of things to do for people to go do in the off time. And don't charge $280. Make it affordable. Make it affordable for a family to go check out what CrossFit is, to learn about CrossFit, to get better at CrossFit, all of those things. Put it on an island. And there you go. Yeah, Rogue was just down the street. I don't know if it is more than 3 miles, Jay Birch. If it is, it's not much more. Jar Jar Binks says last year the team games was abysmal. Yeah, the crowds were great. Even for they sprinkled the teens in the middle of everything, and the crowds were full for everybody. I don't know if putting them all together in the same weekend works. Honestly, George, I don't. I don't mind it making it a festival and doing it all in the same week, but I think you have to separate out the masters and the teens from the elite. And we still have the adaptive we have to think about. And the adaptive, they probably love that it's separate now, because instead of having 5 divisions at the games, they have 16 divisions and can cover more people. Jake is just hitting below the belt now. The CrossFit Games 2026 sponsored by Metfix. Blech. Maybe by then they'll be able to tell us what they are. So many comments. Sorry, guys. Fergie, I totally agree. It needs to be more of a festival like Wadapalooza. Masters and teens are not high drawing events, but bring in the community to make a fitness celebration, and you get the best of both worlds. I agree. The same week makes sense to me. Same week. Have the masters and teens go early in the week. They finish up, and immediately after that, the elites then go for the rest of the week. No crossover like they've done in the past. Just let it be one and then the other. Crystal, those numbers she gave me stands corrected. It was, the prices were for the Albany main event, not for the age group. Preach, sir. There we go. Fergie, I mean, I do not give a damn about watching 60-plus-year-olds compete, but I would love a festival with interactive displays where all CrossFit could participate. I really enjoyed all the different divisions for their own uniqueness. I like the older divisions. I like the younger divisions. It's two different forms of CrossFit, but the races were good, and that's what I'm there for. I could sit there and critique movement and say that the younger ones move better or not. But what I love is if it's a race and you're giving 100% and you're diving for the finish line, I've been entertained. Lido on her way. Are you home yet, girl? Hi, all late to the party. Been napping on a bus. Vicky, we have not talked about CrossFit addressing the West Coast rumor next year on IG. We have not. I don't have any additional information. That was just a guy in New York saying that. So I don't know how much credence that has, but honestly, I just need some time to kind of regroup and get focused back on other stuff. And once I do that, I'll look into those types of things. T-Bird, what is the payouts for AG and Masters games? Holly just posted that again. She had run the numbers based on the percentages and did estimates to the payouts. And she posted it last night right after our show because that question got asked last night. Kelvin Hucks, I attended. I would have been more inclined to buy from vendors if ticket prices wasn't so high. That makes perfect sense. So by gouging the families and making the dreamers pay, now you've got consumers not willing to spend money at the vendor booths that you're trying to attract sponsors and vendors to. Make it cheaper to get in, people go shopping. People go shopping, vendors are happy. Vendors are happy, vendors are willing to pay more money. Maybe your final events for age groups are Friday. Generally not as busy of a day for indie. This also makes Friday super busy day for all vendors. Okay. Well, with that, guys, I'm right up against my lunch hour. It's time for me to go back to how to be civil and don't be a dick in the workplace for probably another hour or so. And then I have some meetings. So that means you knuckleheads need to get back to work as well. I will see everybody tomorrow. And I don't know what we'll dive into, but we'll find something. With that, have a great day. We'll see everybody next time on Lunch with the Clydesdale. Bye.